again, everybody. Barry Hyatt here in Scottsville at the University of Kentucky Extension Office with my good friend Janet Johnson. Janet, you know, this is November. Thanksgiving is right around the corner.
It is.
And you have a great idea for that special holiday, don't you?
I do, and I'm going to step back in time, Barry. You know, one of the great things about holiday meals, it gives people a chance to talk about memories. And why not take the opportunity maybe to prepare a very traditional dessert for Kentuckians and Tennesseans especially.
Oh, yes.
And that is the fried pie. It's a small turnover, and you can make it in a variety of ways, but it's apple season here in Kentucky and Tennessee, so we can take advantage of that. And we can have something that one can talk about memories and recollections, as we call it, about when you ate your first fried pie, or maybe you're a peach pie fan, or maybe you're an apple pie fan, and we've got different camps that enjoy that. But you know, Barry, it all starts, and I'll let you kind of show some of the dried apples that we have over here.
Oh, yes,
we'll kind of pick those up there. And apples, of course, are in a lot of farm orchards still, some of the heirloom varieties, but I'll have to say that I actually purchased these dried apples from Habegger's Amish Market here in Scottsville. So they are dried with a very traditional technique, and they will give you a darker apple filling in that way. Now, I've dried apples myself and just taken some Golden Delicious apples from any grocery and dehydrated those using a dehydrator for home. And those work great too, but they're a little lighter than the apples that we have here. But it doesn't really matter. You can use your own or purchase your own or just do whatever you want. And in a pinch, you can get by with a can of apple pie filling. I do want to point that out, that is possible, and just kind of chop the apples up and smash them into smaller pieces. And you have that as well too. But we're using these very traditional dried apples from Habegger's Amish Market today, and all I've done is use a couple of recipes from two outstanding cooks here in the county that have passed on now. That was Mrs. Ovalita Gibbs and Mrs. Mildred Whitlow. And you know, pie fillings have their own recipes from different families, but this one simply takes 4 cups of dried apples, or what they'll call a quart. Now, you know, you have to pack apples down because they're very spongy. So you can't just lay them in a cup because you won't get a true amount. So pack them like brown sugar. Then put them in and cover them with water. Now, Mrs. Gibbs would say, well, now, Janet, you need to make sure that you put 4 cups of water to 2 cups of apples. But Ms. Whitlow would say, but now, Janet, you need to cover your apples with water. That's it. Put them in a pan, then cover them with water and add more water. So you see, two different cooks cook 2 different ways.
That's right, yes.
The point being, we want to reconstitute the apples, and what you will gradually see in about 30 minutes is the apples will absorb the water, and then you stir them around, and they will begin to mush. Now, some people like to put their filling at this point in a blender to really get it even. I don't fool with that. I like kind of chunky apple pie filling. You know. So now I have a choice though. After I have the apples with the water in them, then I am going to sweeten those. And I'm going to do it to taste. Now Ms. Gibbs would say, well, Janet, if you have 2 cups of filling, you put 1 cup of sugar. But you can do what you want to do. And this is a place where, Barry, you know, Splenda, we have an alternative sweetener. This is a good way to use Splenda because you are just sweetening that filling, and you can cut out some carbohydrate too if you have diabetes problems. So it's a good way to use Splenda at this point. Then I too like to add some spices. Now I'm going to show you the array of spices that Miss Gibbs would use in her filling. She would even add a tablespoon of cider vinegar to make it tart, very tart. And then she would add a couple of teaspoons of cinnamon, to a teaspoon of nutmeg, to a teaspoon of allspice, to a teaspoon of cloves. Now that's a spicy filling. But it's very traditional. And I can remember that was very close to what my grandmother used too. On the other hand, you may want to only add a little sugar, and that's it.
And that's it. You don't have to put the spices in
if
you don't want
to. You do not. Now, I tend to hit in the middle of the road for me, and I put the cinnamon and just a little bit of clove. But that's me. So spices are all your own thing. But I do the sugar and the apples, a little cinnamon, a little clove. But Miss Gibbs went the gamut with a lot. So we cook that down, we then add that, and then I chill this filling because when actually frying the apples, having a cooler filling keeps it from completely running out and getting very, very thin. So I'd urge you to bring this out of the refrigerator. Now, we've made the filling. Now we can go back and we can talk about pastry. Now, apple pies can be deliciously flaky, or they can be very doughy. And I'll talk to you a little bit about tricks on how you keep it from being doughy. First of all, and I love these recipes from the older ladies, because they would actually make their dough ahead of time and refrigerate that overnight. That allows the dough to kind of set together, makes it easier to work with. And I would urge people to think about that. Minimally an hour or two ahead of time in the refrigerator. Okay. So with that, we are using what we call a soft wheat flour, which here in our part of the South is going to come pretty much from one source, and that is White Lily. Now, Martha White might argue with me a little bit there, but you want a soft winter wheat flour for the best pastry. And I mean, my cooks, my old traditional cooks, and I don't mean old in age, but their tenure, they would say, Janet, you don't use anything but White Lily flour. And so I'll say that, but it's a soft wheat flour, and that allows you to have a more tender crust in that way. Now, another trick that we're going to show you today, Barry, is that if you are really pressed with time, I have found that a flour tortilla works.
You have options.
And it saves you time, it gives you a nice product. We'll show you one, we'll do one today and show you the difference. And it also gives you the thinness and the consistency you need to think about to prevent the doughy pie. It is rolling it out to the correct thinness that actually gets you away from being really doughy. So think about a flour tortilla here, and there we are. But we'll use one of those in just a moment. But let's go back to our dough that we fixed. What we're going to do, Barry, is we're only going to pat the dough out to a ½ inch. Now, the recipe that you will have will be 2 cups of self-rising flour, and then it will call for 1/4 cup of shortening. Now, we all know that with pastry, lard is really, really good. We're not supposed to eat a lot of lard because of the high percentage of saturated fat, but in making pastry, it is delicious. If you cannot get lard or you can't use lard, then you need to use a solid shortening. To actually make your pastry. And of course, I'd highly recommend this for any good biscuit too. But, anyway. So we have done that with milk, about 2/3 cup of milk, any kind, and we have made the dough, and I have patted this out or rolled it out. And have you ever seen this little type of rolling pin, Barry?
I don't think I have, actually.
This is a newfangled little rolling pin that you can pick up at a lot of shops or some parties that people have. And it's wonderful because it allows you to work and really work efficiently instead of having to roll the old-fashioned way. So you do that and then come back with a biscuit cutter or a measuring cup, whatever, something about 2½ inches, and we are actually going to cut out a circle, So we're not rolling this whole piece of dough out to the thinness. We're just working with a biscuit size. And that makes it easier to get it thinner. It's very difficult to work with that large amount of dough to get it thin, but it's much easier to work with a small, small circle that we just keep flattening out then to get it really, really thin. And that's what we're doing here to get it to the thinness, once again, of a tortilla. And that's what we're trying to get. Now, we're ready at this point to do one last trick, and that is to take our finger and just moisten around the edges of our circle. This is going to help seal the edges and keep your filling from coming out. That and not using too much filling. So we simply take a heaping tablespoon of filling in the circle, put it in the center. Now, here's the trick. We do not want this filling to ease out the back. And see how thin that is on top, Barry? I'm kind of showing people some problems. If it's too thin, your dough will tend to cook out when it's heaped. So you want to be careful and try to roll it to that consistency.
And of course, you're pinching it on the edges too.
I am pinching, and I am pinching. And I could even take a fork, Barry, and kind of crimp the edges as well too. I want to show people that little technique. So I'm just going to kind of smash it down there and kind of bend it in there and get it in and fix it. And I could crimp the edges and kind of fix that little top, and we're going to put that in some hot oil. An electric skillet works great because it allows an even heating. And I'm using a peanut oil to fry in. A lot of people like that for their Thanksgiving turkeys. It's also good to fry your pies in too. Great flavor like that as well. Now, we mentioned the tortilla. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the same thing, Barry. I'm going to put, again, just a little water around the edge. And a tortilla actually is very spongy. It's very elastic, and it doesn't have as much issue,
Right.
you know, with tearing.
Right.
So it's a nice way to do a last-minute fried pie, especially if you use the canned pie fillings, or you can make these ahead of time, and you've got that. So we're putting that in. They make a little larger fried pie than what we were showing originally. So kind of fight with it and crimp the edges just like we did before, and work with your pie in that way. Take a fork and crimp as well, and kind of mash that in and mash that down, and you are ready to fry a pie.
In a
As
tortilla.
such, in a tortilla, and we're going
Which
to put
is
that
kinda
little
cool.
guy right in
Yeah.
there, and that makes it quick and that makes it fast, Barry. And then all we're doing is getting that ready,
It's
and
over
I'm
there, I
looking
believe.
for the
Yes.
spatula right here, and you want to let these brown until the edges are brown, and then they will be done in a second. You see that we've already got some fixed over here,
Yes.
and I want to show you. I let you kind of pull over this little guy right here and
You
show
just pick him
everyone.
up, or
Yes,
the
you
whole-
can
whole tray?
you can pick him up right there and kind of
Okay.
show them this little pie. This is
I
the
guess
tortilla.
this was mine now that I've handled it.
It is, it's yours, right? But this is the fry pie made with the tortilla.
Okay.
And it has a nice shape to it. It's wonderful, and it's done. And as you can see, when we pick this little guy up, this is the pastry pie, and they are different in shape
They
like
are.
that, but they're equally delicious. And I'll let you try those later on and see which
Sure.
one that you like. So,
Oh, I'm sure I like them both. I was going
Yes.
to tell you earlier, this is probably going to be one of my favorite recipes we've ever done. So
oh,
yes.
it's a great recipe, and there's a lot of history today in everything we're showing you from, again, Miss Obelita Gibbs, Miss Mildred Whitlow, great Allen County cooks. These are their recipes that they've used, and just wonderful.
Now, when you get these into the cooking stage, I mean, about how long does it take at this point?
All we're doing is browning those, and that is making sure that you keep your oil about 350 like
Okay,
that.
all right.
And that's all we're doing. When you begin to see the edges kind of brown, we just kind of lift that up.
Okay, and then flip it
And
over.
I'll flip him over, and we can see that he is done. And this is a good looking pie there, Barry. I don't think
yeah.
we're going to have too much leakage there too. But imperfection is okay with these great heritage pies like
You're
that.
going to be eating it pretty soon
You will.
afterwards.
You
anyway,
will.
aren't
And
Yeah.
they are great hot, or they're great cold
Oh yeah, most
there
certainly.
too. Absolutely.
And would be a great addition to any family, any Thanksgiving recipe.
Absolutely. This would be a great way to do something very traditional yet non-traditional, the smaller pies, and let your family be involved in making those and reminisce about your own memories
Most
with
certainly.
those as well.
So if you guys would like to put this on the agenda for the Thanksgiving dinner as maybe a possible dessert, we're going to make it easy for you. We're going to give you the recipe. You can access that recipe in one of two ways. You can check out my email at North Central. That email address is barry.hyatt@nctc.com, or you can simply go to our website. That address is www.nctc.com. We'll make sure the recipe is on there along with the video of this taping that we're doing right now. And again, a wonderful recipe, and I know that they're going to taste great. Have you tried one already?
Oh, yes, I have, Barry. They are very good.
Now,
Very
do
good.
you prefer apples or do you prefer peaches?
You know, in all taste tests, I do prefer peach, but you cannot beat apple. You cannot beat apple. Peaches are a little harder to dry.
Yes.
So I understand. That's
yeah.
why I think I like them better.
Could you make an
The te-
apricot fried pie too?
Absolutely.
I would
Any
think so.
dried fruit
Yeah.
that you see on the market. I've even heard people who enjoy pecan
Yes.
fillings with their
Okay.
pies, or chocolate.
Yes, I've heard of those. Yeah.
Yes. So there's all types of fillings other than the dried fruit fillings that are also delicious too.
I'm still going with the fruit though, I think.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Janet, thanks
Absolutely.
for your time.
Thank you so much, Barry.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you all for watching. We appreciate you watching as we always do. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again real soon.